G'day, welcome to Say It With Guitars. I'm your host, Pete Cornelius. Each episode I'll be digging deep and getting to hang with some of Australia's finest guitar pickers, songwriters, producers, collectors and makers. I look forward to bringing you these fun conversations and I hope you enjoy Say It With Guitars. Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another instalment of your favourite podcast. We're having a ball doing season 2, folks. So we're in the middle of school holidays down here in Tassie, so I've been hanging out with the fam. And what else is going on? We played a pretty fun show down at the Midwinter Festival down in Huonville on the weekend, where they have a massive sort of celebration of the winter. And also this week I'm going to be catching up with a producer and trying to work on some new material. So that's exciting. Yeah. And today's guest, Rick Brewster, doesn't need much of an introduction, folks. He's a legend of Australian rock and roll. He's a great guitar player and songwriter, and I was lucky enough to hang out with him for a little while and have this conversation, so enjoy. Before we crack into today's show, I'd like to shout out to our sponsor, Mr. Billy Tarrant from Tarrant Guitars. Billy's an amazing luthier and he makes some real sweet instruments. I'm lucky enough for him to have built me a 00 size acoustic guitar, which I've dragged all around the country and it's sounding better than ever. So yeah, check out tarrantguitars.net.au, Tassie's one-stop custom workshop for custom-made guitars, all guitar repairs and services. Let's get into the show. I'd like to introduce to our show today on Say It With Guitars, the one and only Rick Brewster. G'day, Rick. How you going?
Good. Very good.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for joining us here today. Excited to have a chat about all things guitar. And for those who are been living under a rock, Rick is one of the men behind the Angels, a legendary Australian guitar-driven rock band. Highly influential, I'm sure, on most guitar players I know. And so, yeah, a pleasure to be here today for having a chat. You guys are so prolific. I've actually haven't had the chance until like the last few days to look at your catalogue and you just don't stop. There's lots of music. Tell me about the process or just the need to play. Like it looks like you guys are busy live, you're touring, you're recording, you're writing. It's so inspiring. Tell us a little bit about what it looks like currently in the band.
Same as it ever was. Exactly, you just said it. Touring, writing, recording. We're looking towards finishing an album that we started pre-COVID, actually. During COVID, we finished some of the songs and put out an EP because we could do that remotely.
Yeah.
I record solos at home.
Yep.
If we record, though, we always start as a band, do the backing tracks, 2 guitars, bass, drums, guide vocal, and then I tend to take the backing tracks home and record here. Mm-hmm. So during COVID, we had about 6 songs to that stage, backing tracks down, and got vocals and guitars on them. Lead guitars, rhythm guitars were already down, and put out an EP. But right now we're gearing up to finish that album.
Great. Will the material from the EP be part of the album, or you got a whole nother selection of material?
I think it will.
Yep.
Wait and see how many tracks we end up finishing.
Yep. That's great. You can all remotely, come up with a quality product and, email files around, no doubt. It's such a luxury we live in to have that.
Didn't used to be able to do that.
That's right. If you're looking at the clock and someone's wallet, at a big studio, I imagine.
Yeah. When we started recording in mid-70s, it was any home recording was usually to a demo on a cassette tape.
Yeah.
And pretty much unusable as final product.
Yeah.
And there was always that thing of trying to recapture the magic of the demo in the studio. But studios cost a fortune to record in. It was all 2-inch tape, which was expensive. And you'd fit maybe 3 songs on a reel.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, all the other equipment that goes with the studio and the engineer.
Tape op.
But we signed to Albert's, which was absolute luxury because the studio came with the deal.
Right.
So we never paid for studio time, and we had the best of everything, best studio, best engineers, producers with Vander and Young.
Yeah. The sounds that come out of those early Albert's recordings, it's raw and it's honest and it's thick and it's gritty.
That's all it's got feel.
Yeah, it's feel. It sounds like a band playing music. It's not layered and
George used honest. To drum that into us. And we had the luxury of watching them work with AC/DC was the big one.
Yeah.
But their own recordings, Flash in the Pan, John Paul Young, Rose Tattoo that they were working with at the time.
Yeah.
Just fantastic stuff. Ted Mowry.
Yeah.
They were all part of that stable.
Mm-hmm. And did you guys mingle much as artists, or was it kind of like you get in, you do your thing, and then the next artist will come into the studio and you go out on tour and you try and sell the record? Is that kind of...
No, it was pretty much open door to come in and watch what was going on.
Right.
So, there was quite a lot of mingling.
Yep.
Watching Angus in the studio rolling on the floor. It's like he was doing a live show.
That's so good.
Incredible.
I can picture that.
He blew his amp up, it burst into flames.
Really?
Yeah.
In the studio?
Yeah. I think it was Let There Be Rock. But
wow.
Yeah, it was quite an experience.
The walls would have been rattling.
Oh, yeah.
Would have been loud as all hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's such an experience.
Office block in King Street, middle of Sydney.
Wow.
That Albert signed up on the 5th floor.
It would have just, they'd shaken the whole office building. It would have just been like ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have to like record at night, or was it like you can go in there all day?
No, all day and night.
Wow.
We used to go after gigs, after a Sydney gig.
Mm-hmm.
We would go rock up at 1 a.m. and go in and record till dawn.
Wow.
Just doing demos, and then that's a good one. We'll finish that one.
Great. Because it's such a post gig. It's such a feeling. If you have a really good show, everyone's in the same excitement levels. If you can go to the studio at that point, I reckon that'll be a really good foot up, wouldn't it? Like
that's what it was like.
Hit the ground running. Like.
It was always that thing of trying to capture the live feel.
Yeah.
And because playing live, a lot of that relies on audience and the energy that you get back.
Yeah.
And that energy gets used up in hitting the guitar harder or, whatever.
Yeah.
And so in the studio, we would try and recapture that. So going, like I said, straight after a gig, you're still in that mind space.
Yeah, that'll be a hoot. Try and organise that one day. Yeah. And did you guys get up to Blues Fest over Easter? I saw
we did.
Angels on the Bill. Yeah. How was that? Were you playing
fantastic. Yes.
All age groups?
We've never played until last year we played, and then this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was huge, massive. This year we played on the opening night, and we got out for the line check, and the whatever you call it, the marquee, whatever the audience part was quarter full, and we thought, oh shit, so not going to be like last year.
Yeah.
And we played a song and they just came in droves.
And running.
Filled it up.
Great. Yeah. I guess I wouldn't say competition's the right word. There's a lot of great music at that festival.
Certainly
and
is.
people spread themselves pretty thin, I think, because they want to see, I want to try and see
they're
everyone.
all looking at the program.
Yeah. But, as soon as you guys start, such an infectious sound, and been listening to it pretty heavily for the last few days, and I just sort of forgot how fun it is. It's actually really fun rockin' music. It makes you feel good. But one thing I also like about the material that you guys have written is it's not just about playing fast and loud. There's a lot of dynamics. There's a lot of melody, even ballads.
Dynamic that's always been a big one for us. It's you can play fast and loud from start to finish, and it's a bit two-dimensional. And you throw in that. We've always loved we call it a breakdown, where the dynamic goes down. Sometimes the feel changes to half time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a short musical interlude, sometimes with vocals, sometimes not. And then it's kind of like a mini set when you design a set list. You want to take it on some moves, hit them hard, bring them down, bring them back up.
Yep.
And we've always treated individual songs a bit like that.
Yeah, you can really hear it. Another part of the song arrangement and the writing style is, I've noticed, instead of having a typical bridge section where there's a vocal and things sort of change, a lot of your guitar solos are actually in a bridge form. Typically a verse, chorus maybe would be a form that a guitar player would solo over, but a lot of the songs that you guys have got, I've noticed that a bridge is almost like the solo. It changes.
Yeah,
is that a lot of that
true.
intentional?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of that comes from my classical piano upbringing, which is where I started. And it was all about melody. And so we would write a song and then I would look for somewhere else for that to go.
Yeah.
For a guitar solo.
Mm-hmm.
Just, 16 bars, 32 bars that take it away. If the song's in A, D and E, whatever, then go to a F sharp minor for a solo.
Yeah.
It works.
Yep. The major lift and the minor fall are great.
Yeah.
Great tools in the tool bag.
Take a long line, it's basically three chords, and it goes to C minor, C. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I play the lead.
You probably play it with your eyes shut though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you use minor and major a lot in the same, like
Yeah.
a lot of the chords actually alternate between minor and major without changing the root part of that chord. I thought that was quite effective as well. It's not a thing you hear in much guitar-driven rock music. So, yeah, definitely having that classical background must have sunk in. So, did that come from your parents? Were they classical musicians or listeners, or
Dad was. Yeah.
your dad was?
Yeah, he was a classical cellist. And, when he was playing professionally, he was lead cellist in the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
So it was all classical. He had his own orchestra, and he was conductor for that. But that all sprang from his father, who was classical pianist, organist, composer, conductor. He was a freak.
Wow.
Massive amount of mostly unpublished manuscripts.
Mm-hmm.
He just write until he died. Dad inherited that gene, I guess, and we got some of that. He didn't understand rock music at all.
Yeah.
But he was always pushing me on classical piano.
Right.
Make the melody sing.
Great words.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you played piano for a long time under
When I was at school.
Yep.
When I was at school with your friend, father.
Yeah.
That's when I was learning piano, and I kind of quit around 18, 19,
Right.
shifted to guitar. And then I played washboard for about 3.5 years.
I did read about
band.
that.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, so you played piano for a long time. Did you play in any sort of orchestral arrangements, or did you just play at school, or did you do like solo pieces?
Yeah, just solo.
Okay. Yep.
Mostly Beethoven.
Right. Great way to learn melody and
Yeah, it was
structure
good.
and all that stuff.
Not much good for improvising, but that came much later.
Did you find a need to improvise? Like, did you want to break free of the dots on a page sort of thing?
No.
No?
I didn't even know the word.
Yeah. Because are your solos written in most of the songs you've recorded?
Some aren't. Some are, improvised on the night. But all the early ones, they were written, and I used to play them note perfect most of the time. So it was. I treated them like playing Beethoven. You play the piece the way it was written, and then it becomes all about expression.
Yeah.
So you have a bad night means you played the right notes but played them like shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how many ways you can play a single note.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely. You can milk it, or you can just fluff it over and stuff it up. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
That's why when I met Dave Wilson for a guitar lesson for my son, I think I heard Dave play a 4-note lick.
Yeah.
And I went, let's get together. I want to learn how to play it like that.
Yeah, Dave's a great player. I've been playing with Dave off and on for maybe 20 years or so.
Oh, right.
Something like that. So we've always had a good time on stage together, or wherever it might be.
Yeah.
He's a good egg and loves his guitar.
Yeah.
Actually, I should have a chat with Dave on the podcast. I should definitely do that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So you've gone from writing solos. Is there times where you think, like you've committed the solo to tape and you've played it live over and over? Are there moments where you think, oh, maybe I should have played that bit differently or written it differently, or have you rethought about things like that? Like, has it made you think, oh, geez, I should have changed that to a different note at the time? Or
I have actually. More recently, we've done a bit of, just recently we've been playing a repertoire that we don't normally play. We're dragging out, so we call it rarities.
Yeah.
Songs that are probably well known to people that have bought the albums, but we haven't played them for years or sometimes ever live. And so, before the first gig, I've got to sit here and learn them.
Yeah.
And I do exactly that. I go, why did I play 4 notes there? I could just play 2. And it would sound better. So,
yeah. It's all about economising, isn't it, as a guitar player, I think? Yeah, making life easy for yourself. Yeah. How about influences in your early guitar days?
Guitar days?
Yeah, like who was it that made you pick up the guitar, or who was it that sort of showed you some licks, or tell me a little bit about the early...
Well, John, my brother, he was playing guitar while I was learning piano.
Right.
Acoustic, just about all Bob Dylan.
Right.
So he introduced me to Dylan, and when I started playing guitar, it was just with school friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we played a bit of Dylan, Donovan, Simon and Garfunkel, Everly Brothers.
Yep.
And that was all chords.
Yep.
And simple riffs. None of it single note solos or anything.
Yep.
It was only when we started the rock band I went to electric guitar and I said I wanted to be the lead guitarist.
Yeah.
Without having a clue. Because I'd never had a lesson.
Yeah.
And that was interesting because I found myself learning just listening to records, vinyl records,
Yep.
Chuck Berry.
Right.
A bit later, AC/DC,
Yeah.
because we toured with them.
Yeah.
They were a big influence at the time. Daddy Cool.
Yeah, Ross Hannaford,
Yeah,
great guitar player.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So I would try and learn some of that stuff.
Yeah.
As far as having lessons, that never happened
Right.
because we went straight on the road. So it was just learning stuff by ear. And
Right.
when we wrote songs, I didn't have an army of licks
Mm-hmm.
to go to draw from.
Yep.
And I guess in some ways that was an advantage because I relied on the classical training and I wrote solos in my head
Yep.
and then got the guitar and worked out
Wow.
how to play the melody I was hearing.
Yeah.
And if I couldn't play it, then I would modify it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was only much, much later that I started developing a small library of licks.
Yep.
Some my own and some stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And that made it easier to be able to improvise.
Yep. That's great. Definitely having the ear for knowing what you want to play and having a guitar. Like on a piano, everything's laid out. You know, low to high. Every note gets higher and higher. Whereas on a guitar, you've got these strings in different tunings and things can sort of throw you curveballs. Hey, like obviously it gets higher in pitch the closer you get towards the bridge. But if you want to go across the strings, you've got to actually deal with different intonation and finger patterns and stuff like that. So to have worked out, stuff like that on the fly, that's great. And no bad habits to start with. Like you're just starting fresh. You know what I mean? Like that's so cool.
That actually works both ways because, as you know, on a guitar you can play A major bar chord and a B flat major. You just move it up one fret.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same fingering.
Yeah.
But on the piano,
That's right.
and that was one of the first things I had to do was play piano in Chuck Berry's backing band.
Wow.
Chuck was a cheapskate, and
Absolutely.
his thing was get a band who would back him for nothing. And of course, yes, please, we'll do that. So we supported him.
Wow.
And then backed him.
Mm-hmm.
And my job was piano.
Right.
And I'd never played
Those Johnny
rock
Johnson
piano.
licks. Yeah.
I just played Beethoven. So that was when I did get a couple of lessons. Our bass player, Chris Bailey, he played in a band with a wonderful piano player called Peter Beagley, I think his name is.
Right.
in a Adelaide band called Headband, and I got in touch with Peter and said, "We got this this tour coming up. Help!"
Yeah.
And he just showed me how to go down, 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 down on the piano.
Yep.
And I said, "Well, that's great. Now I've got to learn it in every key."
Yeah, that's right. A lot of Chuck's songs were in piano keys because Johnny, the piano player, wrote most of not most of, he had a big part of the melodies, and a lot of them are in B flats and E flats. And
Yeah, well, when he played live, they could be any key because he didn't look at the guitar; he just picked it up,
just started,
and that could be an A flat.
Wow! How did you guys go? Because I've heard he's pretty brutal with his backing bands. Like, did you get any death stares or anything?
Oh, he was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah,
it would have been a trip. Over Chuck. Because have you seen his 60th birthday concert that Keith Richards MD'd?
Yeah.
Some of the footage from that, it's incredible. It's incredible.
They had a big argument, didn't they? On
yeah,
stage?
They had a couple of arguments. You can see just like their tension, you know. But there's mutual love for each other, but there's tension.
Yeah. But wasn't that Keith's thing? He was sick of seeing Chuck with shit bands.
It was, exactly. He wanted to give him a great band, and then Chuck just wanted to derail it and go,
No, you don't play it like that.
It's some great footage. It's really worth watching.
Yeah.
It's called Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll for you podcast listeners. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Wow, so that's cool. So what happened? So was that a version of the Angels, or was that pre-Angels?
Yeah, well, it was pre-Angels. It was Keystone Angels,
right?
That we started out with. That's who we were when we toured with Chuck Berry and with AC/DC. And when we signed to Albert's, it was Keystone Angels, and it was George Young who said, "Why do you need the Keystone? What's wrong with the Angels?" Yeah, great idea, George. Thanks.
Yep. Yep.
And then we went to America, and oh shit, can't use the Angels
because the Hells Angels connection.
No, it was there was an American glam band called Angel.
Oh, right.
And
right,
we were looking at, cease and desist and all this legal shit and stuff.
Wow.
We just said, "Oh, okay, we'll call it Angel City."
Right.
Which was a pain in the arse. I never liked it.
Angel City. Did that last? Or obviously it didn't last,
no,
especially in Australia.
Just while we toured.
Right.
Okay. Overseas.
Yep. Yep. So let's talk about the early days playing washboard. I imagine there wasn't a lot of jug bands in Adelaide in the 60s, or was there? Or was there
70s? It was
70s.
I think there were. The one I most remember was Coney Island jug band, and I think there was another one too. I can't remember their name.
So Jim and Mick Conway from
that was Melbourne.
The Whoopee. Is it Captain Matchbox?
Captain Matchbox Whoopee band.
Yeah,
and they were incredible.
Yeah.
And they invited us to go to Melbourne for the National Jug Orchestra.
Right.
To be performed at the TF Muchmore Ballroom in Melbourne. Too fucking much more ballroom. And it was hippie days.
Yep.
We all piled into the VW combi wagon that our washtub bass player owned.
Yep.
And drove to Melbourne. Stayed the night with Mick and Jim Conway.
Yep.
And next night was the performance, and it was it would have been about a 60-piece orchestra, and it was
wow.
It was lined up like an orchestra with sections.
Yep.
And it was jug bands from all over the country.
Wow.
all descending on this National Jug Orchestra night, and it was a big night. I was in the washboard section, of course, with about 5 other washboard players.
It would have been brutal. Like, it would have been loud as all get out.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. And it was conducted by the after-dinner moose.
Right.
A bloke with no sense of rhythm who wore a moose head and conducted with a golf club.
Wow. I can picture it.
Being jug band music, everyone knew the songs.
Yeah.
They all played basically the same repertoire.
Right.
Going back to, Gus Cannon, 1920s. Gus Cannon Jug Stompers, Dixieland Jug Band, I can't remember.
Will Shade.
Will Shade.
Memphis Jug Band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great music.
It is great music, and it's, like you said, it's melody's strong. It's got strong melody.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
And it's all blues-based.
Yeah. Yep. So all like T-chest basses and jugs and little ukes and things.
We had wash tub bass because it was louder and had a nice ring to it.
Right. That's great. Now, speaking of the not symphonic background, but the classical background, I noticed you guys have been doing shows, and you've got more shows coming up with orchestras around the place, doing beautiful theatres, and you're teaming up with... have you got an orchestra that hits the road with you, or are you teaming up? If you go to Adelaide, maybe you might play with the Adelaide Symphony, perhaps?
Touring an orchestra, it's really...
be expensive.
Forget it. But...
It's a great concept.
You don't need to, because we tour a conductor, a guy called Rob John. He lives in Melbourne, and he wrote just about all the scores. So it's all on paper, and you get a good orchestra. Yeah, they just read the dots, and he conducts. He speaks both languages. He'll talk, turn to bar 368 to the orchestra, and then he'll turn to us and say, "Can we start at the third verse?"
Right. Yeah, that's good to be able to do that. That's a cool concept. What brought that up on you guys? Was it just a creative idea to...
Oh, really, John and me, our classical background. Yeah. It was, father and grandfather was all orchestra. Our grandfather wrote a symphony in the what's called the overture to it. We get the orchestra to play that to start the show, and we walk on.
Ah, right.
Towards the end of that.
Yep.
But we were exposed to so much classical music. We always, when we started the rock band, started writing, we always used to say, "Oh, wouldn't it be amazing to hear Mr. Damage with an orchestra, for example?" Yeah. Take a long line, Yeah. So we finally did. We got it together with Rob John. He wrote the scores, and not just orchestra, but 40-piece choir as well.
Oh, wow.
It's an amazing show.
Do they get in on the chorus of Ever Gonna See Your Face Again?
Yeah.
They do?
They do, actually. Especially the Brisbane choir.
Right.
They're fantastic. There was one lady in one of the choirs who, in the rehearsal, flatly refused. So she just stood there while everyone around her was, "No way, get back."
Cover your ears, love. Fantastic.
Am I ever gonna see your face again? Am I ever gonna see your face again? Well, am I ever gonna see your face again? Am I ever gonna
And is that being recorded and filmed, any of those shows? Because that sort of stuff would be great content, I reckon.
Yeah, we've got a DVD of the show.
Oh, right.
And CD.
Okay.
Just go to the Angels website and you can buy it.
That's right. Absolutely. And how does a loud rock band go with an orchestra? Or have you guys got a few tricks up your sleeve? I've heard you've gone digital. Is this true?
Oh, you mean as in stage volume?
Stage, yeah, on stage. Yeah,
that was a potential problem.
Yeah.
The first few times we did it, we had guitar amps underneath the stage.
Right.
Pretty much soundproof.
Yep.
But since then, yes, we succumbed to digital. And now it's a breeze. We just plug in.
Yep.
And there's no stage volume at all from the guitars. It's just the drum
drums.
kit.
Yeah.
And we put a Perspex wall around him.
Mm-hmm.
It works well.
Great. How's the transition been going over to, is it Fractal? You guys using a Fractal?
John uses a Fractal.
Right.
And loves it. And I've got one up there, actually, the same one he uses, the, FM3. And it's great sound-wise, but it's not quite versatile enough for me.
Right.
It runs out, it's got everything you want, but as soon as you want to add particularly something like a reverb, you get these warning lights, CPU.
Right.
And it will actually stop if you load it up too much.
Right.
And I occasionally like to use a couple of effects.
Yep.
So I went to the Boss GT1000, which is that one there.
Oh, yep. There it is.
And sounds just as good. It's the same deal. It's modelling.
Yeah.
Which has come so far now. You see guitarists all over the place who are saying the same thing. I think it was Joe Satriani said recently, I've got every amp known to man. I tried every amp in the studio and went back to modelling.
Wow. Okay. I think there is a certain sort of player or certain sort of tones that probably make that easier to rely on modelling. I think that kind of clean break up in between, that crunchy, not quite distorted, not quite overdriven, not quite clean, that kind of sound. To be honest, I haven't tried enough of it to make a clear judgment, but I think that is the sound that kind of is hard to recreate. You can probably recreate distorted, saturated tones or really clean tones, okay, but an in-between sort of tone. I don't know, what sort of tones do you go for out of the box, like your JCM 800 sort of approach, or? Yeah,
pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They don't call it that because they can't.
Yeah.
But when you read about it, it's based on this amp or that amp.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's JCM 800 I use. It's more, well, the original amps that we used to use in the 70s and 80s were JMP 100s.
Yep.
And they've got their own sound as soon as you turn it up to 7 or 8.
I could imagine.
It's a great sound.
Yeah.
But I bought this little JMP that's 20 watt, original 1973.
1973, is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds like the 100 watt JMPs. It's amazing.
What's the tubes in it? Is it like the KT66s, or is it?
I don't know.
You know, right?
I'm not technical.
It'd be interesting to have a look at it. That's interesting. So I never knew they made them that small in the. What would that? So did you say early 70s? Was it?
Yeah, 73.
73.
But yeah, it's completely original.
Wow, that's cool.
Dave Wilson, he's yet to go digital. You know, he sticks to his amps.
Yeah.
His amps and his pedals.
Something about hearing your guitar come through an amp through a set of speakers. I don't know. How do you guys... So running in ears, I'm guessing, on stage, or you run?
Yeah, we do in ears, but I also I'll run that straight to the mixing desk for front of house and for monitoring, and then I put a quad box behind me and a separate output to that. And just go into the power amp. Well, actually, I use a little power amp. This one.
Oh, the crate.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Dave Leslie put me onto that from Baby Animals.
Yeah, I have seen
I heard
one of those
him,
on top of Dave's amp.
heard
Yeah.
him playing with a fractal into that.
Yep.
And I just said, "Tell me what you're using, Dave."
I'll take one. Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing about it is, yes, you can plug into a JCM 800 and a quad box and you get a fantastic sound. And in the old days, in the 80s, we toured with a semi-trailer and we had our own equipment.
Yeah.
We had our own crew that didn't throw the amps around.
Yeah.
And it was reliable.
Yeah.
These days, we don't do that. We hire equipment. If we go to Melbourne, we hire stage amps and drums, all of that, which is, basically cost saving.
Yeah.
You can get a great amp one night, next night it's crap.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't even work.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So
That's right.
this is totally reliable.
Yeah.
The modelling, it's exactly the same every night. You get a quad box. Even if that fails, you've still got the
Still got front
direct.
house. Yeah.
And if the modelling unit fails, then I can plug straight into the front of that.
Yeah.
And that actually sounds good. It's solid state, but you get by.
You get by. Yeah. Amazing what you can do in a sticky situation.
Yeah. You got to have backups.
Yes. Yeah. That's great. And, you'd be able to carry it on an airplane. Like,
Yeah.
you have your sound, like you said, the same every single time. And you can probably preset songs and have everything ready to go within like microseconds. It's
and whatever pedals you want to use for delays, reverbs, whatever.
Yep.
It's all there, and you can debate whether it sounds as good or not as the original pedal. It's like debating with a studio engineer. Does 2-inch tape sound better than recording digital to Logic or Pro Tools or whatever?
Yeah.
And, there's no argument that 2-inch tape sounds absolutely brilliant, like a vinyl record sounds brilliant compared to CD.
Yeah.
But it all ends up on a CD.
That's right. It all comes out this little tiny device through a tiny speaker, and
if you've got a good engineer and a good studio with good equipment, good outboard gear, good mixing desk, then we work with a great engineer, and he's been right through. Should I be using 2-inch tape or not? And he comes out. No, it's just there's so much you can do in the digital world that you can't do on analog.
The workflow is so much quicker and easier.
Yeah.
I recorded my last record to tape. I got hold of a 1-inch 8-track machine, and we tracked everything live in the same room, to tape. Great tone, but God, you forget how much you rely on convenience of editing and workflow with the computer.
Have you ever tried to edit 2-inch tape?
I've never spliced it. I've never cut it up. Makes me too nervous.
I have. It's bloody awful. You get it wrong and you get this, 5 millimetre piece of tape that needs to go back.
Yeah. I'd be sweating bricks. I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, there are pros and cons for everything. But to me, it comes down to performance. If the performance is great...
It's the biggest thing. And that's exactly what George Young used to say all the time. He'd say, number one is feel, performance.
Yeah.
And that's why you're always trying to recapture the demo, because you're relaxed, you're just playing, and sometimes you just luck onto something that you can't recapture.
Yeah.
People have put out albums that are recorded on cassette and they sound brilliant because of the performance.
They've captured that essence of the performer, the song, the intent, all that stuff that can get lost. Overtake. Yeah.
It's like the guitar and the fingers. You put all the same. You put a great amp, great guitar in 2 different hands.
Yeah.
It sounds totally different.
And isn't that great? We've all got the same, ideally it's the same instrument, 6 strings, tuned roughly from E to E, and we can all do so much with it.
Yeah. And
sound iconically different.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful thing. It's so good. Like, the human spirit is alive and well. So guitars, you've got a Strat over there. Is that one you built yourself?
Yeah, that's the one I use exclusively now. It's the last one I built.
Have you built a couple now?
Yeah, I've built 5.
Wow.
That was the first one, which is Silky Oak.
Uh-huh.
The timber was given to me from the estate of a luthier in Sydney, a guy called Craig Upfold. And I've always wanted to build one, so I built that. And I love it. And it inspired me to go through and build more. And then I got on to another luthier who's become a friend and works with us at gigs now, a guy called Dwight Wood in Brisbane.
Right.
He sent me a piece of Empress wood, which is almost half the weight and sounds brilliant.
Wow.
And that's this one.
Right.
Feel that.
Oh, wow. There's nothing there, is there?
Yeah,
the heaviest part's the neck. That's incredible.
It's full of microscopic holes. It's almost like balsa wood.
Yeah, wow.
And it's just got that. See, my first guitar that I used until it got stolen in 1980 was a Epiphone Sheraton.
Yep. Do they have a block?
Semi-acoustic.
They don't have a block through the middle, do they? They're fully hollow, I think. Is that right?
No, they have a block.
They do. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's the other one, the John Lennon one, the Casino.
The Casino, yeah.
All hollow.
Yeah.
But that was a great sound. And this Empress Wood Strat has got a lot of semi-acoustic tone about it.
Yeah.
And it's,
right.
I'm sure, because it's so porous.
Yep. That's fantastic.
And it's just so good to play live, hang that on your shoulder.
You can play it all night.
It's like playing an SG.
Yeah. So what inspired you to make your own? Was it the gift of the timber from your luthier?
I think so, yeah.
Like in honour or in
so
spirit?
I started working with wood years before, like 30, 40 years ago, I started wood turning.
Right.
And I got heavily into that for
Right.
some years. And then got given this timber and thought, I'll give this a go.
Yep.
And combination of phone calls to Dwight
Yep.
in Brisbane and YouTube demos, and buying the tools, some of the specialised tools you need.
Yep.
And actually, it was Sam Brewster, my nephew,
Right.
our bass player now,
Right.
John's son. He said to me one day, I've just signed up for a TAFE course. I'm going to build a guitar.
Right.
I thought, fuck you, so am I.
Yeah, I don't need a TAFE course.
And the race was on.
Fantastic.
So he's got more into it than me. He's built about 9 of them.
Right.
Built a couple of basses.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful stuff. He did the hard ones. He did a Les Paul.
Right.
He's done a PRS.
Right.
A couple of Strats.
Okay.
Strats are all I've done.
Yep.
But I'm about to start on a telly
Okay.
with the same timber that Empress would.
Great. I guess to me, what would be the most daunting part is the neck. Is like, you don't want to take too much off, like off the back of the shape and getting that shape right.
Scary.
Yeah. Would be.
But it's also the most enjoyable part.
Right.
It's the one where it's all about the feel
Yeah.
of the neck. And
Do you have a template? Like, do you have one favourite instrument you can kind of like use as a template?
Yeah, I do actually, and it's right here. This is one made by the guy that gave me the Silky Oak.
Right.
Well, he didn't, his estate did.
Yeah.
But that neck, I just love.
Quite wide, actually, for a Strat. Nice flat radius. Yeah, that's cool.
So for me, it's between that neck and the up in the house. So I've got a vintage Telecaster, one of those black custom tellies.
Oh, cool. With the wide range humbucker in the neck sort of thing?
No, it's just standard pickups.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yep. And you've kept the little shape at the bottom of the fretboard, I've noticed.
Yeah, I did.
Little homage.
I did on that.
Yeah.
Did on this one? I think I didn't. Oh, I did. Yeah. This one's Huon Pine.
Huon Pine. Yeah, right. Because you have been busy. It smells good though, doesn't it, Huon Pine?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'd love to do this one day. Definitely, you've got to commit though to the proper tools. You can't just like go to Bunnings and...
Yeah. Oh, it's good fun.
Yeah.
But it's the woodwork that I like. I don't do pickups.
Yep.
Dwight makes the pickups for me. He hand winds them, and I get him to do the frets because he does them much better than me.
Okay.
And it doesn't really interest me that much.
Yeah.
But shaping the wood is good fun.
Yeah, I could imagine it'd be great. Like it's music based. Like it's sort of something like it's a tool. It's an expressional tool, but it's also like making it would be so like there's so many elements to a guitar, isn't there? Like if you do one little thing differently, it can change the whole total sound or the feel of it.
Yeah.
Like it's so many little micro measurements in a guitar, but the result is such a. It'd be so pleasant to have your own instrument. I definitely need to do this one day.
Oh, that first one I built, the Silky Oak one.
Yeah.
It took me quite a while, probably 3 months.
Yeah.
And that first moment when you string it up.
Yeah.
And stringing it up was just 2 strings. I just put the 2 E strings on. And the surprise you feel when it actually plays.
It works. And, wasn't probably the easiest one either because you haven't got a scratch plate on it. So you've got like routing from the bottom and stuff like that. So you jumped in the deep end there. They're all great, mate. Really well done. That's an inspiration. I chatted with Phil Manning recently.
You what?
I chatted with Phil Manning, and
you?
he's built himself a Telecaster in lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's actually like a shrunken down version. So he's finding full-scale guitars a bit hard to play, physically demanding.
Yeah.
So he's shrunk the scale a bit. Everything's like down a bit. So it's almost like a student sort of model, like almost a 3/4 size guitar.
Yeah.
And he showed me the Telecaster he made. It's great. And I don't think he invested in many tools. I think he just used what he had and made it work.
Right.
But I think he took the fretboard to Maton. I think they sort of mapped out the scale and gave him the fretboard to put the frets in. But apart, everything else like that, he just did it in his back shed. So.
Oh, good on him.
Yeah.
That's great. I haven't seen him for quite a few years. I think he's playing with Chain again. I think I saw something about that.
Yep, Chain were at Blues Fest as well.
I'll never forget a conversation. I shared a bus ride when we did that short tour with AC/DC in 75. I sat next to Angus and we were chatting away about guitars.
Yep.
And I said, oh, what about Phil Manning? Because we'd done a few shows supporting him, and he was an early influence for me too. Mm-hmm. I just thought he was a beautiful player, and I said as much to Angus. I said, oh, what about Phil Manning? He's a good player, isn't he? And Angus said, so he fucking should be. He's been playing for fucking 20 years.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Have you told Phil that story?
No, I don't think I ever have.
Yeah, well, I'll have to make sure he knows about that. That's great. So he should be. Yeah. Oh, he was a great mentor for me in the early days.
Was he?
Being a Tasmanian, Phil, he'd come down a little bit and see his family, and then I got to see him a few times. Yeah, up north. Yeah, from Devonport sort of area.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the guy down here, Greg Burns.
Yep.
He said he learnt from Phil's father.
Really?
Everything about electronics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you can't go far in Tassie without someone knowing someone or being related.
Yeah, don't say the wrong thing. Get into trouble.
Yeah, it's nice to be nice. Is there anything you've purchased or perhaps invested in that's been crucial to your artistry, be it an instrument or an amp or a producer or a metronome, or I don't know, like is there anything you think that has been a pivotal part of your musical being?
Beautifully said. Oh shit! I don't. Yeah, that's a good question. It's a hard one.
It's really hard because we're in such a world at the moment where we're all consumers. Everyone's buying. Everyone's like, but we're buying a lot of rubbish. So, is there anything? Yeah, is there anything that, or not even buying, like investing in something? Have you done something that's made a big difference to either you as a guitar player or the band or?
The only thing I can think of, I mean, the things like that amp. I love that amp, the Blues Junior.
Yep.
And Dave Wilson loves that amp too, which says a lot. I love that Marshall 20-watt amp, but they haven't. It's not like they've made a big difference because I'll play an amp for a little while, and then go back to the Boss because it's easy and I just plug it in.
Yeah.
So I guess, digital, fractal, Boss, any of those things have been pretty crucial of late, made a difference. Being able to come down here to the cabin and record by just plugging in a few leads is great, because if you have to go through, an hour of setup, it can be enough to turn you off or just
lose the inspiration almost.
It just cuts into the motivation.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think I'll go and hang the door on the telephone box instead. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But what I'm coming to is very recently I've bought something I've always wanted to have ever since I saw the Birds probably, which is a 12-string Rickenbacker.
Right, yeah.
Original 1966.
Beautiful.
In pristine condition.
Yeah.
And I'll just sit around and play that.
Yeah.
Just playing chords on that, it's something else.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And they're like a semi-hollow body, is that true? Is that right? So even just sitting on the couch, that'd have enough presence and jingle
you don't
jangle
have to plug it in.
Yeah.
That'd
be great.
So that the iPhone, early days, I used to always have a Sony Walkman mono recorder for my ideas, cassettes, and now of course it's voice memos on the iPhone.
Yep.
So I always have the phone with me, play the 12-string.
Yep.
And, that sounds nice. I'll just put that one down.
Yep.
So easy to look it up. It's all,
It's all itemised.
No rewinding tapes or searching through the library of tapes. Oh, I know, I put down a good idea there somewhere.
Yeah, and you can share it instantly between your friends or your bandmates. Yeah. Technology has definitely been a huge gift, I reckon, for musos in that regard.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we were talking earlier, being able to record final product at home without paying a thing for it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so technology is a big one.
Yeah.
The ease of being able to put down ideas, and if it sounds really good, just put it straight into Logic and add to it.
That's right. Yep. Keep the essence of that demo.
Yeah.
The electricity of it. The spark. What's your favourite recorded guitar tone? Not necessarily yourself, but maybe something else that's...
Well...
There's a few... I know, like, it changes for me every time I think about it, but what's one that springs to mind today?
I would say my all-time favourite tone is Malcolm Young.
Ah, yep. With the White Falcon, you reckon? Or the little Gretsch he had where he pulled all the pickups out of?
Yeah, the original one. Highway to Hell.
Yeah.
Long Way to the Top.
Yes.
What was he using then? That was
I don't
the
know.
Original.
I think
it was
that double cutaway jet thing, I reckon. Yeah.
So one John's got one, the same as that, and he uses it sometimes. But Malcolm's tone, that in a 100-watt JMP Marshall, it's unique.
Absolutely.
I don't think I've ever heard that tone from someone else.
Yep.
So there's that, and then there's Jeff Beck, amazing tone.
Yeah. Just thinking of Malcolm, it's probably his delivery is pretty iconic though, isn't it? Like he means business. Like when he plays guitar. But yeah, Jeff Beck, absolutely singing, sustain, and the sounds he could coax out of a Strat was just so inspiring. Yeah, that's great. And let's talk about one more thing before we leave up. How do you go about practice? Do you practice per se, or do you like listen to things like musically as practice, or like do you sit down and play a scale, or do you just get up at the gig and hope for the best? What's the way that you keep inspired, perhaps?
For me, it's either I couldn't play you a scale if you asked me to,
Right.
Because I never had that training. It's just not something that's in my guitar vocabulary. You listen to Dave Wilson pick up a guitar and he will play scales. Or Chris Chaney, we toured with him recently, and
great. He's incredible.
Before a show, you hear him in the tent next to us, and he's going. Yep, it's great, Chris, and it is great. And when he gets on stage, it's obviously crucial to how he performs, and his performance is impeccable. The whole band. I played washboard with them.
Oh wow!
For one song, "End of the World," and it's their fastest song, and it nearly killed me.
That's you need to work up to that.
Yeah. But I don't do any of that. I just never have. My practice is learning what I've written for certain songs. I don't want to fuck it up. I just want to get it in my head to the point that I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's for a tour, or it's writing. So it's all pretty, nothing. I don't have a routine or anything. I've always wanted to. I would love to put an album together of different guitarists sound checking. Everyone who picks up and
that's true.
They always do the same thing.
Yeah,
and they're all totally different.
That's a great concept. You're right. Everyone has like their own little sound check noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could almost do it like a quiz. Go, who's this?
Yeah.
Play it and you're like, yeah, cool. I would buy that. Yeah. Fantastic. Cool. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, Rick. Thanks very much for hanging out with us. And
pleasure, Pete. Yeah.
Look forward to catching up and hearing you sometime soon.
Good.
Take it easy. Thank you. Thanks for listening, folks, to another episode of Say It With Guitars. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, share it around to your mates, leave a good review, and hopefully we'll see you next time.